I think a lot of people looked at this team as a lottery team. Again, trying to follow that Oklahoma City model, which is a nice model to have if you can find the pieces like they've been able to put together with Durant, Westbrook, and when Harden was there. So first off, are you surprised that, I don't want to say it's 7 wins, but where the Cavaliers stand right now, is that kind of where you pegged them through December?
I didn't think that they needed to lose at this high of a rate. I mean, they could have 10 or 11 wins, but coming into the season, I looked at the Cavaliers as, from an Eastern Conference seed standpoint, at the end of the year, finishing somewhere between 8 and 12, with the likelihood of being somewhere around 10, but, being no higher than 8 and, possibly being somewhere, in the 12 range. So they haven't won as much as I thought they would. But at the same time, I thought the chances of them not finishing in the lottery were, pretty slim.
And we go back to that model, talking about the lottery picks, and the Cavaliers with 2 more again this season, with both Waiters and Tyler Zeller. I know a lot of people thought, the Waiters that came out of nowhere, a surprise to most people. But not knowing a lot about him, I've been impressed with what I've seen so far from Waiters.
Yeah, he's solid. And, when we look at these rookies that the Cavaliers have, we can't measure them against Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's a special player. He's by next season he'll be a top 10 player in the NBA. So you got to look at what they are relative to the rest of the league. And when you do that with Dion Waiters, you see that he's a solid player. He's a solid pick. The Cavaliers just matched up against Bradley Beal and the Washington Wizards last night. Beal has not had the season that most people thought he would. Beal went 3rd, Waiters went 4th. So you look at it like that, the Cavaliers are in a solid place with Dion Waiters. They definitely do need, to hit on at least one lottery pick, this upcoming draft. But they have pieces, and they're building, and Waiters is a solid part of that.
And the one thing, and I know Coach Scott has been working with Waiters on it, taking the ball to the hole, and I think we've seen that the last couple of games where you can see him being there. Instead of settling for shots and fallaways and fades and all this other stuff, if he attacks the basket, it's only going to make him that much of a better player.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to have to learn how to attack, on the NBA level. I mean, driving to the basket at Syracuse is not the same thing as driving to the basket on the NBA, floor. And you saw that last night. And they had that block on Waiters last night. And those things are going to happen as Waiters makes that transition. But, he's going to have to continue to work, and that's an area of his game that, he'll figure out, and he'll figure out that he can't simply overpower guys the way he could in college, and that he's going to have to, figure out angles the way Kyrie Irving attacks the basket and do some of that. But I feel like, Byron Scott's doing a good job with Waiters in that area.
And a couple of other things before we take a break, get some calls in here. Tyler Zeller, just talk about his development so far. I like him coming off the bench. I understand, obviously, now with Anderson out, he has to start. With him starting, I'm wanting myself and expecting more out of him. I know the points are there, the rebounds I would like to see up a little bit, but just so far through 20, 25 games, Tyler Zeller.
Well, I was at Vegas Summer League and I watched Zeller, and I walked away from that this summer extremely impressed. I think he has a high skill level, higher than we've seen even recently with him starting in place of Anderson Varejao. I think that he's a player that's going to need to get more comfortable with the system, more comfortable, just knowing where everyone else, knowing where he can most impact the game. And I think that he does have more of a skill level than we've seen, and I can see where you're wanting more. And I think that in time he should be able to deliver a little bit more, because I think that he is an underrated athlete, and I think that he's a skilled player. But that's part of that development too. I mean, even though he was a senior coming out of North Carolina, he still needs to develop in the NBA system, and I think we're seeing that.
And I don't want to waste our time talking about Kyrie Irving. I mean, we understand he's the best player on the court for the Cavaliers. Maybe even for some teams when he match up against certain teams in the NBA. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on him, but another great game yesterday. I mean, he's scoring the ball. He's able to distribute. He's even getting rebounds, which is nice to see. The one thing that worries me are the free throws. I know last night was probably a rare situation, but all in all for the Cavaliers, I think that's one place they're going to need to continue to improve.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, I'm talking about the positives about Zeller and Waiters and a lot of these guys. I mean, there's a number of areas they need to improve. And the 7-win mark is obviously an example of that. And I think it's concentration. And you're talking about the free throws. Kyrie Irving is he should be a 90% free throw shooter. Mark Price ask from the free throw line. So they're going to have to, Kyrie Irving even touched on it the other day after practice, is that they're having trouble focusing for the entire practice. I think that maybe it's a maturity or age thing, and as they grow, that concentration level will rise.
And the one thing that keeps coming up continuously, not just today but throughout the season, Anderson Varejao. He's hurt now. Double machine, high energy guy. What do you do with him? Do you try to trade him now when his value may be its highest? Do you try to give him another year with the core that's here to maybe raise that a little bit more? I know you're taking a risk because of the injury factor, but what do you do with a guy like him?
Well, at this point, I feel like you got to hold on to Anderson Varejao and go into next season having him be a part of that core. At some point, I understand that the Oklahoma City model is to a degree in play here, and I understand that the Cavaliers are building to the draft, but at some point, Cavaliers are going to have to try to start winning. Yes. And that's going to have to be next season. You're going to be talking about year 3 of the Kyrie Irving era, and Anderson Varejao is leading the NBA in rebounding right now. So, I mean, he's at a $9 million salary number. He's reasonably priced big man for, the type of production that he's had this season. And I think that you hold on to him unless someone calls Chris Grant and completely blows him away with a package that's just, something that we can't even get our arms around right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, well, you trade him for draft picks. Well, teams that are going to have draft picks that you want aren't going to want them because they're going to be lottery-type teams where you're going to have to take some players back in exchange and, maybe get a late 20 to, 30 pick in the first round.
Yeah, and I have no idea with regards to any interest in Varejao, but the Oklahoma City Thunder are holding that Raptors pick, which could be a high pick. I don't know if they're interested, but yeah, like you said, besides the Oklahoma City example, that would be the case. No one really has those type of picks.
When we come back, before we jump into the calls, I want to ask you about Byron Scott and Tristan Thompson a little bit more. We touched on them earlier, but if you have a question for Brendan, 866-786-8551. You can email BoostedSportsOhio.com. You can tweet at us at ABAOSTO. We already have a couple of those that I'll throw Brendan's way. He's going to join us for a couple of caller segments. So get on board now. Talk Cavaliers with both Brendan and myself here on Sports Ohio.